There is no better and faster formula for you to become a professional creative freelancer than constantly learning and putting into action what you've learned. By research, trials, and many failures, I managed to set in place over the years an effective process that is helping me to reach my creative business goals. Because I want to help you reach your objectives faster than I did, today we'll continue the customer onboarding journey we've started in the last episode. I'll share with you all you need to know about project proposals, contracts, and invoices so that you can implement them right away into your freelance creative business and grow. If you haven't seen yet, make sure to watch also the first part of the customer onboarding process series dedicated to services guides and business inquiries. Hello guys, my name is Loredana and I create strategic and playful illustration, brand identity and packaging design services for ambitious small businesses who want to achieve their own definition of success. Let's jump straight into the first step of the customer onboarding process, the project proposal. Now that you managed to gather all the necessary information about your prospect client and his business objectives based on inquiry questionnaires or calls, it has arrived the moment to send him your unique custom project proposal. If you don't use this professional presentation document yet, you should, because it will help you to leave a lasting impression on your potential client. Make sure that both you and your prospect understand the exact project objectives and scope, process, investment, and outcome of the project. Provide fantastic customer experience. Have a solid guide and reference for the project stages from start to finish. Help you maintain a doable timeline. Position yourself as a pro and a real problem solver. Facilitate the relationship between you and your prospect client. Promote and pitch your services and vision for possible future projects. When designed to look professional, on brand, and written effectively, your project proposal should be able to clearly explain what you want to accomplish for your prospect client and his business, as it breaks down the entire process for both you and your client. Writing an effective, on-brief, and easy-to-understand project proposal is one of the most important skills you must master as a creative freelancer. Maximize the effectiveness of your efforts by doing some previous research about your prospect client and his business needs to show him that you have a good understanding of the project objectives and are convinced about doing business. At this stage, your potential customer already knows who you are and what you do because he already downloaded and consulted your services guide on your website, or you already sent it to him by email. If you want to find out more about it, make sure to watch my previous video. Start bold. A project proposal should identify right from the start your prospect client's business problem for which you have the right strategic solution. Based on the objectives you establish with your prospect client during the business inquiry stage, instead of offering a general outcome, be as specific as possible. Does your project proposal offer an opportunity for brand awareness and growth? Don't try just to create a brand identity. A better objective would be to help the client create a strategic brand identity for his business so that he can build his brand awareness and thrive. Sounds more specific and polished, isn't it? Do so for each project objective. A good project proposal doesn't just list the services you promise to provide for your potential customer. It also explains the entire process for the project, from onboarding to offboarding, as a timeline. Think about project phases as being a compass that provides both parties a roadmap by which to navigate the entire project process. Describing the process required to produce all the deliverables step by step is key in convincing your prospect client that you are the perfect match for the project. Showing the entire work process and the clear tasks for both you and your prospect at any stage, including giving feedback, the revision process, and offering details about the deliverables included, helps in creating a professional and collaborative relationship between you and your potential client, where you both provide value input to achieve common project objectives. Go in depth about each phase or milestone of the project on a separate page.
Ho ho ho! Do you like the video so far? If yes, then press like and subscribe to Loredana's channel for more graphic design, illustration, and business pro tips for creatives and small business owners. Ho ho ho!
Testimonials stand for the quality and the success of your services and products, enhancing your brand reputation. I suggest you level up your favorite project review received from a previous client and show your prospect the value of the services you provided for them. Highlight how your services provided effective business solutions, including images with all brand deliverables created during the project, and last but not least, add your client's sweet words about your collaboration. Along with the project stages, your proposed service package or packages play the part of project scope, as they include the totality of outputs, outcomes, and benefits, and the process required to produce them. Based on your prospect business objectives, you might propose to your prospect a custom service package or more, including a pro one. This will give your prospect a more comprehensive understanding of his business needs and how each of your proposed packages of service will better benefit his business, leaving him space for decision. Describe in depth how each of your proposed service packages is aiming to solve the problem your client is facing by giving clear details about the deliverables included, the benefits, and the process. For each custom services packages proposed, you must include To successfully accomplish the project objectives, you need to set a realistic and doable timeline that will guide the entire process. I suggest you to leave some wiggle room for revisions and tweaks. Give your potential client clarity on every portion of time consumed in a project phase so that he can keep track and respect the timeline of the project, ending with the full estimative timeline of the project. Obviously, besides passion, you do all the hard work to pay your bills. But rather than focusing on price, you should instead shift the attention of your prospect to the value that your proposal creates for him. Include all the project deliverables and the price for each packages of service, stating below the total project investment. In plus, is the investment final or estimative? Is there any chance you might charge additional fees such as licensing costs or additional revision costs? If yes, then write it. This is one of the most important sections that sets the legalities of entering into a transparent binding agreement with your prospect client. To be professional and avoid any future misunderstandings or conflicts, include all the rules regarding the payment, the rounds of revision included, the cancellation fees, intellectual property and copyright, the communication method, and elements part of your freelance contract of services. Break down each element from start to finish, starting with the payment of the investment. You should answer these questions. Do you offer plans for the total investment? What payment method do you offer? Which are the deadlines for invoices? Who will pay the transfer fees and any currency exchange discrepancies? In the final section of your project proposal, launch your bold call to action for your prospect client. Now that your prospect is hooked on your project proposal and it's ready to join you on the journey, you must inform him about the exact next step in the process. In this section, I invite all the prospect clients to contact me for the final binding approval via my email using an interactive hyperlink. Having interactive email and URL hyperlinks integrated into your presentations increases the customer experience for your prospect client because they help your prospect to easily navigate through the process. Also, include information about your working hours, the waiting time for a response from you, and your website link. Consider sending your prospect a follow-up email after 2 days of silence. Do you want to know one of the best time-saving tricks? Presentation templates. I advise you to create an InDesign presentation template for your project proposal and reuse it with the obvious necessary adjustments for all your prospect clients. Because I want to help you jump straight into booking clients, I designed for you this cool project proposal interactive presentation template. My interactive 20-page template will help you to save time and energy, your most valuable resources as a freelance creative, and present your project objectives, process, skills, know-how, and solutions for a potential client like a pro. Modern and interactive, you can easily adjust this presentation template to fit all your specific needs as a creative business owner. Besides a project proposal interactive presentation template 20-page InDesign file, you'll receive the typeface used and an in-depth PDF on how to use and export my interactive template. I will guide you step by step with prompts, descriptions, and tips on how to use, personalize, and export effectively this interactive template, even if this might be the first time when you strategize your services or when you open Adobe InDesign. Leave in the description the link for this essential interactive presentation template for creative freelancers. Use this modern template to level up your personal brand, process, income, and reputation. After receiving the written project approval from your prospect, it's time to successfully end the onboarding process by both signing your freelance contract and the client paying the invoice for your first deposit so that you can jump working on the project. A freelance contract is the foundation of a successful project and a key part of running your creative business, being an official and legally binding document or agreement between two parties. A contract outlines the exact offer, project details, and working terms between two parties, what the party is promising to deliver, and what the other one agrees to pay in exchange, thus helping to prevent any misunderstandings. One of the biggest mistakes that beginner creative freelancers make is starting to work without having a custom contract signed in place. No protection, no process, no payment guarantee. In plus, a weak and vague contract will not protect you from AWOL clients, those who silence and ghost you, and scope creeps, those who demand more and more work and revision than initially agreed. A scope creep has become one of the main reasons why many creative projects fail. Having a custom freelance contract will protect you from AWOL clients, protect you from scope creep, provide a professional and trustworthy customer experience, certify you'll be fully compensated for your work, build trust and ensures the client that he'll receive what he paid for, ensure that both parties are on the same page and are held accountable throughout every step of the project. Most of the times, it will be your duty to take care of the contract. So let me show you what you must include in your agreement to make sure you'll avoid scope creep and be fully compensated for all your hard work. Include all the business details for both contracting parties in the agreement. The agreement, or the consideration, is a short and general statement of what is expected of you to fulfill the contract. It may sound like the ex parties agreed to sign this contract for provision of graphic design services to the following terms. Definitions or defined terms are words that are giving a specific definition to the contract to prevent any misunderstanding. Before signing, a client must read first the definitions to make sure he understands exactly what he is agreeing to. Think about defining the meaning of a contract, beneficiary and provider, service, intellectual property and copyright, force majeure, and any other important element that may be included in your contract. Now it's time to get super specific about what deliverables your client will receive at the end of the project. List all the deliverables included and add important details regarding the number, file type, design variation, rounds of revision, and presentations. Clarity is key. This one is straightforward. You must add the exact period of duration for the contract, along with the starting and the end dates for the project. It's also good practice to include a clause regarding the extension of the contract by signing an addendum in case any additional deliverables your client may request, which will imply a new timeline and a new price. In the capitalist world, time is money, so share the total price for your time and know-how, the investment that your client agreed to pay you. Some create this code by project value for extended projects, while others choose to charge hourly for super short projects. It's up to you how to charge for your work. I personally charge per project because there is no time tracking implied and there are no surprises for the clients. The easiest way to define your payment terms is by answering the following questions. Which payment methods do you accept? Do you require a deposit upfront to start the project? Do you offer payment plans? How many milestones? What are the payment deadlines? Will you charge a late fee for any missed payment deadlines? Will you charge a rush fee for any additional revision outside the scope of work? Who will cover any fund transfer fees and currency exchange discrepancies? Most of the creatives, including myself, charge a 50% deposit of the total project price to begin working on the project and the remaining 50% at the end of the project before sending the final deliverable files to the client. Briefly, the client must pay the full price before receiving the object of the contract, thus being less risky for you to be ghosted and left unpaid after all the hard work. Also, to avoid scope creep, outline how many and which revisions are included in the contract price and state how much will you charge per hour for any additional revisions. This section is highly important for creatives as it states who, when, and where owns the copyright for the deliverables produced during the project. Think about clarifying if your client will receive exclusive or non-exclusive rights and ownership for the deliverables after paying the final deposit. Clever would be to transfer only a part of the ownership. For example, a product featuring your design or illustration can be sold only in X country, and if the client will want to sell them also abroad, he'll have to pay you an extra amount because his business will gain more value and revenue out of your services. Makes sense, right? Also, I advise you to reserve yourself the right to showcase the deliverables created for your project in your portfolio, social media, web, and mass media. In this section, you must state the exact obligation both you and your client have to successfully conclude the project and the contract. Two of them are obvious. You must create the deliverables and the client must fully pay you to enter into them possession. But you should also think about respecting deadlines and confidentiality. This one is straightforward. Do you offer refunds partial or total? If yes, in what situation can a client claim a refund? Force majeure frees both parties from obligation if an extraordinary event directly prevents one or both parties from performing the offer, as natural causes, governmental actions, pandemics, etc. Include information about the process of claiming force majeure. Write the communication method for the development of the project and include the contact persons for both parties so that you'll know exactly with whom you'll be in touch during the project. Both you and your client are obliged to protect and not reveal any personal data or information gathered during the project regarding the scope of work, creative concepts, workflow, know-how, documents, and price. You should always include a termination clause in your freelance contract that state what will happen if you or your client need to cancel the project. Make sure to include details about who owns the copyright on the deliverables created until the cancellation moment, and what project cancellation fees will be associated with your client. Even though I wish you to never have legal conflicts with your clients, you must include in your contract what will happen if you and your client don't manage to amicably solve a potential dispute. What will be the exclusive jurisdiction for all disputes? I also add to the contract an appendix where I include in-depth information about all the project stages, the tasks, the deadlines for both me and the client, and the procedure for each round of revision so there will be no miscommunication. After both signing the contract, yay! You should send your client an invoice for the first deposit of the total price to justify the cost of your services. An invoice should be simple and easy to understand and must include the term invoice, a unique invoice number, the invoice order reference number or the number of the contract, the business details for both parties, a tax number if your state allows you to collect sales tax, a breakdown of your services and deliverables, a breakdown of prices and the total payable amount at the end, the balance due amount, the payment method and the bank details so that you get paid on time. Putting together powerful and branded freelance contract and invoice templates will save you lots of time, as you'd simply need to barely modify them every time. Please let me know in a comment below if you'd be interested in purchasing my custom brand identity freelance contract and invoicing design templates. Now that the customer paid the invoice for your first deposit, I officially declare that you successfully concluded the customer onboarding process and you are ready to fully dive into the project. Don't forget to have fun! I hope you enjoyed the second part of the customer onboarding journey and may this series motivate you to improve your strategic process, your customer experience and customer services so that you'll evolve and thrive as a creative small business owner, no matter your background. Show your support by giving a like and press the subscribe to my channel for more graphic design, illustration and business pro tips for creatives and small business owners. And lastly, have yourself the merriest Christmas ever! Merry Christmas! Take your brand strategy, design and illustration games to the next level by watching these videos.